Hello, everybody. And well, technical technical glitch is kind of natural part of life already. So, but I promise you, today's event is going to be worth the wait. And Claire, can you give me the sharing permission so I can share my screen quickly?
Sure. Okay, you're ready to go.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm going to go straight to it. And today's topic, as you know, is a very exciting one. We're going to talk about the intersection of games and commerce. So we're going to discuss what we can learn from the game industry and apply that to the future of fashion, which we all know is going to be very different than what it is now. And we have a wonderful group of panelists. So a little bit about myself before I introduce the panelists. I'm the founder and executive creative director of Cinda Media Lab. It's a digital design studio. And I'm also a faculty at FIT. My subject area is called Creative Technology and Design. There are two curriculums, program curriculums that I chair. One is called Advertising and Digital Design. The other one is called Animation, Interactive Media, and Game Design. During my free time, my hobby is writing books, and I published my 10th book this year. So our first panelist is Michaela, and many of you know, it's a great company called Fabricant. And she's going to talk about herself a little bit, introduce what she does at her company, and I'm going to stop sharing so she can take the center stage.
Hi,
Michaela, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Great to be here. So indeed, my name is Michaela. I'm the head of content for the Fabricant, which essentially means that I'm overseeing the content and communications team, communicating everything about our work, doing our storytelling, and essentially engaging our community and audience around the world of digital fashion, NFTs, blockchain, and all related topics. I've been with the Fabricant since 2018. The Fabricant is known, I guess, as it was the world's first digital fashion house back then, and came to global prominence when it created iridescence, which was the world's first garment to appear on blockchain. It created a bit of a splash back in 2019 when it sold for $9,500 and kind of, I guess, outraged a lot of people that someone was willing to pay that money for something that didn't physically exist in the material world. Since then, our work has evolved, as you know, in the entire space over these past 4 years, to really, I guess, embrace fully the world of blockchain and digital assets and digital collectibles. We just in 2021 launched the Fabricant Studio, which is our co-creation platform that really invites our audience into the environment to co-create collections alongside artists and brands that we invite into the space, to collaborate and customize garments to their own preferences, and then mint them as NFTs. So they have garments to trade and collect and wear with utility in the metaverse.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our next guest. So our next panelist is Jordan, and he's a COO and co-founder at Hologress. And I have had the pleasure to actually met with him remotely and watch this wonderful demo of this product they are developing right now. It's called Meta Tailor. So with this product, you can actually dress your character for game or for other purposes, like how you dress yourself. It's very natural and simple, and I'm super excited about this product. And Jordan, the floor is yours.
Hey guys, I'm glad you could all be here today. We do have some very exciting questions that are going to be happening later. That we're going to be really diving into, fashion and games. And thank you, CJ, for the introduction. Yeah, so Hologress has been around about 4.5 years now, and we are launching our platform Meta Tailor by the end of this year. We haven't released the date yet on purpose. And essentially, what Meta Tailor does is we realized that there's going to be characters coming from all different kinds of places. Across games, you have character creator, Mixamo. You just have all these different places where characters are going to come from, and then as well as clothing too. You have things like the Fabricant or DressX, and a lot of other places where this content is going to come from. But we want to centralize it into one place where it can flow directly into a video game. So you're not having to do a bunch of manual work to get an outfit or a character in game. So our platform makes it possible for any wearable to fit any character in any 3D environment. So true interoperability of 3D characters and wearables.
You're muted, CJ. We can't hear you.
Well, another new normal of our everyday life. You're on mute. Great. Thank you so much, Jordan. And our next panelist I'm going to introduce is Kadine. Once I realized she's on this panel, I started following her on social media. It was so much fun seeing her showing off her digital fashion and how she integrates technology actually in her everyday life. Is fantastic. So you should follow her. And she's a metaverse strategist at Accenture. But today she's really here to talk about this new, very exciting platform called Immersive Kind. And it is a multifaceted art and advanced technology collective, and then she will tell you more about it.
So hi, CJ, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And thanks so much to Claire and all of the team at New York Digital Fashion Week for bringing the community together. I'm such a fan of Marcella and the Fabricant, and it's a huge honor to be keeping such awesome company, and Jordan's work at MetaTailor is equally impressive. So I'm Kadine James. I'm the founder of the Immersive Kind, which is a 3D fashion house, an immersive art studio and collective. I'm also the global metaverse strategist at Accenture. And I create worlds for 3D fashion and immersive experiences. On top of that, I've just opened up a 60,000 square foot venue in Spatial with the Architect Studio Multi, which are based in Amsterdam and in London and in LA, where we've been bringing the fashion community together and doing a lot of collaborations with 3D artists and creators, and really looking at new ways that we can experience art and music and fashion in online worlds and spaces. It's a huge thrill to be here with you all today.
Thank you so much. Our next panelist, originally we have Daria, but unfortunately she couldn't be here today. So we have her proxy, Julien, here to talk about DressX, which is a multi-brand retailer that carries digital fashion collections from most well-known contemporary brands and 3D artists.
Thanks, CJ, and thank you everybody for being here today. Nice to see familiar faces in the panel as well. So DressX, I've been here for 2 years now. We started in July 2020. Started with a use case for digital fashion that people around the world were ready to purchase digital items to wear only in the digital space, with our first utility that was digital photographs. And then we evolved with an augmented reality fashion application, which is right now the largest AR fashion app in the world, and started doing more and more use cases of digital fashion to educate user behavior around the world in wearing digital fashion through partnerships with known entities like Google, Snapchat, Roblox, Farfetch, Meta, and many more, and also bringing fashion houses, traditional fashion retailers into the metaverse, brands like Bershka, Fendi, Balenciaga, and much more, and slowly got into the NFT space, which is now one of our main products. It's the NFT marketplace that we launched a few months ago that provide wearable utilities to each NFT that is mintable in our marketplace. Really to provide this, because like fashion is like in digital, like in physical, it's meant to be used, not to be just stored. So we bring utility to NFTs via fashion wearables now on the chain, which is redeemable with our mobile application.
Sounds very exciting, Julien. Oh, by the way, I got the first chat message of today's session. Great hat.
Thanks. So yeah, this is an unreleased product, but at the end of the year 2022, so by Q4 this year, everybody would be able to get the AR desktop app from DressX that will be compatible with all video calls. And you'll be able to wear your game assets that are linked to the app or NFT assets linked to our app and use them directly in your video calls just to show up in calls with more creative freedom.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So for today's session, I do want all the audiences to know, if you want to share your thought, want to ask questions, put in the chat, put in Q&A, I will be managing and monitoring that. And at the end, if we have time, I will collect some of these questions and ask. But before that, I have about 5 questions that I prepared, so our panelists can share their thoughts on that. And here is the first question. So we're on I'm asking all the panelists to talk a little bit about what's the most exciting example of gamified fashion experience that you have seen in the past couple of years. Of course, this can come from your own company, or this can come from somebody else that you that what they did and you find very exciting. Please share that with us. And I'm gonna just go down the list based on the images I'm seeing right here. So why don't we start with Jordan?
All right. Yeah, so I'd say, man, that's a tough one. There's a lot of really good ones, right? There's a lot of really good ones. I'd say my favorite, and I'm a little biased on this, but about a year ago, we had found, and again, our whole premise is we want to empower independent artists and even big brands at that matter. So we found this independent artist that was doing a lot of really amazing medieval gear that they were building for characters, and they didn't have a way to really get it into games. They were just building it and supplying it to anybody that kind of happened to see it or come by it. And we've actually brought them onto our platform to be one of our sellers that's going to supply kind of the medieval era set. But they've made some amazing kind of modular medieval gear, something like I've never seen before, where you can detach different pieces of it and attach it other places to be used in games. So that'll be really exciting.
That reminds me of my Diablo 2 playing days. I used to be one of the top 100 players of Diablo 2. So I would love to wear my Immortal King's garment.
You get it.
Hopefully that will be soon. All right, so thanks for sharing. Kadine, why don't you go next?
Oh, thank you so much, CJ. And that sounds awesome, Jordan. I'd love to take a look. So there's so many, and there's just so many incredible projects out there at the moment, and amazing creators that are just doing extraordinary things. I'm obviously going to talk about Electric City, which was something that I got to work on last year when I was at Yahoo. So the Electric City was an immersive shopping experience which celebrated 25 years of Pokemon and was a collaboration with the brilliant Charlie Cohen, who's a streetwear designer, Pokemon Company, and Selfridges here in London. It was inspired by the fashion capitals all over the world. And inside the Electric City, you could find the exclusive Charlie Cohen and Pokemon collection. And what was really great about this project was you could collect the physical garments in store alongside the Kaleidodrip experience, which was a collection of digital wearables that you could shop and wear via an AR wearable, an AR lens. And also you could customize your digital avatar. So we work with the Ready Player Me avatar platform. Digital packs also included built-in functionality. So you could mint them into your Ethereum wallet as an NFT via Polygon post-sale. And you can also dress up using over 300 gaming apps and gaming platform experiences. So it was a really exciting project to be involved in. The other one I have to mention as well was getting the opportunity to work on the fabric of reality. That was with the Fashion Innovation Agency at the London College of Fashion. And it was a fully immersive VR fashion show. So the fabric of reality brought together incredible crypto artists, amazing 3D fashion designers, bringing them together to create this virtual fashion experience. We were able to create completely fashion complete 3D fashion experiences for a one-of-a-kind virtual reality fashion exhibition, which was aimed at taking audiences on a new journey and looking at new ways that we could experience fashion inside virtual worlds and online spaces. So those are two of the big ones that I wanted to highlight today. There's so many more, but those are my favorites.
Thank you for sharing. Both of them sound very, very exciting. Oh, by the way, I was obsessed with Pokemon Go for a while. Well, it sounded like I play video game all the time. I hope my students are not listening to this. Anyway.
In the chat, I'm dropping the links to these projects so that the community, anybody that's listening, these are the projects that I'm referencing. They're in the chat. If you want to explore them, please feel free to. And I'll also share the link to the Charlie Cohen one. Take a look if you want to.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So, Julien, you want to share your experience or your thoughts?
Yeah, of course. And just to get back on what you mentioned, CJ, about Diablo, I think like on a personal level, I think this time of life was like the most exciting part of like gamified experience for digital fashion, because all the examples and use cases we just shared in this discussion are like great examples of bringing fashion into games, but this is not by bringing fashion into games that we're doing a gamified experience. Gamified experience is about really playing out with the wearables in a digital space. And I think that the most successful use case right now are Diablo and World of Warcraft, back in the days when people had to actually purchase an armor or a crown that will give them powers within the game and bring a utility through the purchase of a wearable asset that is completely digital. And this was like a super exciting part of wearables and in-game assets. Other interesting experiences would be like gaming skins. We had a very fun kickoff partnership with Roblox actually a few months ago, and we did 2 more since then. Roblox now has over 450 million active users per month. It's like one of the fastest growing metaverse gaming engine in the world right now. And we did the first like trial release of a fashion collection there. And it's a different audience, very young audience, and it was so successful. Like people there are educated with this behavior of purchasing wearables for their game character and playing the game by wearing different outfits, which help them differentiate themselves, recognize their friends, express themselves, be more creative. There was like 40,000 plus SKUs that were like sold in like a few days. And then we launched 2 more collections with them later on. And we now have a partnership with Roblox that enable us to bring any brand in the world to their platform as soon as they partner with us. So that's like a very interesting gaming fashion relationship that was started and is like really growing right now. And 2 other like funny gamified use cases are the like Snap Bitmojis and like meta avatars that we can actually use within their platforms. And the gamification there is more of like being able to switch from outfits and like customize yourself and your avatar within those platforms. So they're all very different gamified use case. And we played with all of them, partnered with all of them and tried them all. And I'd say that like personally at my personal level, I think the fun one is that when you can enable utility and like really exclusive powers and access within an environment through a wearable.
That's great. I just realized that from the Q&A, the audiences are actually saying that they cannot see the chat because it's not being made available. So some of them are actually asking questions or making comments in Q&A. That's totally fine. And Julien, it seems like more people want to talk over your head, but we'll do that later.
Yeah, I just see. So Kadine, when you drop the links, you actually drop them to the host and panelists only, so no one can see them besides of like us in this chat as the panelist. So whenever you post something, you just need to change from like host to public, I guess.
I don't have access to do that, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would. So apologies for the community, but we will certainly be sharing those links. Be assured that we will do that. Perhaps you can share a link to the hat, Julien, so that people can try it on.
Yeah, so actually we can in thank you email that we're going to send after the session, we'll definitely include these links. Thank you. All right, Michaela, the floor is yours.
Hi, yeah, thanks. Yeah, my go-to when I think about gamified sort of experiences where it kind of intersects with fashion, I always think about Animal Crossing and what the fans did there purely on their own terms. There wasn't a brand dictating it. There were just a group of gamers, a community in Animal Crossing that said, do you know what? I would really love my identity, my character to be wearing what's on the runway, on the Chanel runway right now or whatever. And then they started kind of retooling the game to their own sort of ends to get what they wanted to express themselves, which I really loved because it was this idea of a fashion desire meets a real bit of gaming culture, which is that modding culture where you intervene in the platform to make it behave the way that you'd like it to behave and kind of create on your own terms. And then what it spawned was obviously it just kind of blew up on the fashion pages. It became its own Instagram page, Nook Street Market, and there was a million different looks. And then the community started sharing looks. And then fashion brands were then inspired to think, hang on a minute, we could be dropping collections into this environment for these people to wear so they don't have to try and kind of create their own. So it was this idea where the community really inspired fashion and fashion brands, but doing it on their own terms without any desire to monetize or anything. It was purely for the love of expression and identity and yeah, for the love of fashion actually. So it's always my go-to.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful that what you're sharing, because I have been thinking about this. Fashion has that utility to it, right? The physical actually garment has utility to it, but a lot of people, as we know, fashion to them is a self-expression, is an identity building. And then now the digital fashion make that even easier, more sustainable, even on a bigger stage, right? The internet where everybody can see, you can create your own identity through this type of fashion expression, so to speak. So it is wonderful time to be creator and also fashionista, if that's what you want to use to express yourself.
For sure.
So now I think the next question really is starting to dive to the core of what we are here to talk about today. So for each of the panelists, I'm gonna ask you to talk a few things about that, what you think is the key things that you think fashion brands should learn from the game industry. Obviously, games are popular for many reasons, and what can we learn from them as fashion brands? So for this one, I'm going to start with Julien. Oh, sorry, you're drinking water.
I'm all good. I'm good. All good. No, thank you so much for putting me on the spot. I have two key learnings then to share with brands, and it's cool because my role is really related to brands and onboarding brands into the metaverse and NFT spaces, and some of the gaming platform we work with. So I'm used to hear their needs, their visions, their requests, and help them understand that they are often wrong in their approach, and maybe they should understand the industry a little bit better. And I think like the first and most important key learning is to understand that people have been buying digital wearables for many, many years. This is not new. This is not a new thing. People have been buying digital wearables in like games for dozens of years. And I remember Jordan mentioning this in the first panel I was with him like last year, I think. I was like, gamers are ready for this, and they've been ready for a long time. Just their behavior is already there. So if the delivery and the distribution and the communication is done correctly, and the gamification experience is there, there's no reason not to be successful when bringing digital assets in a virtual space. And the other key learning is that like success in this space is not only coming from the design or who you are, who is your designer name or what brand you are. It's not because you're like Chanel or Dior that the drop in the virtual space is going to be successful. And you could be anyone and a small designer or a small creator and be very successful in this space. What really matters is like, what is the utility attached to that asset? Like what can people do if they actually collect that digital wearable and wear it in that virtual space? Will this give them access to a specific community? And like Fabricant is like super on top of the community driven aspect of things. This is like really making people co-create things together and then deliver not just an asset, but deliver a full experience. And I think that's something that brands have a hard time understand right now. So I'd say, yeah, just, it's an existing behavior. Don't be scared. People know it. And then it's not about the design or your brand name, it's about the utility and the experience attached to the asset.
Absolutely. I think this whole concept of virtual assets is no longer, no, we no longer need to question it because the people actually are ready for it. Like you said gamers are ready for it. My thing is, well, millennials and Gen Z, they're all gamers. They're just different kinds of gamers. Some people like to play this kind of game or that kind of game. It's a natural part of their experience growing up. So definitely we're in a world that people are, it's not a foreign concept to them anymore.
And just to add, I like numbers and stats. So Bloomberg Intelligence published research that says that 75% plus of Gen Zs have confirmed that they purchased already at least one digital item in a gaming environment. Like it's gigantic. And the next generation will be 100%.
Absolutely. So next, I'm going to hand the virtual mic to Michaela. I know you have helped a lot of fashion brand build their brand through these technology. So what would you say are the things that you have strategy you have used in the past, or you think you want to use in the future?
Yeah, I was thinking about the question, and what can fashion learn from gaming? And actually, where I instinctively went was sort of turning it on its head, like what can gaming learn from fashion? And when you think about these two worlds, what they both do really well is create culture. So what we're actually doing here is creating the new culture. So if you think about the history of fashion that's always existed in the physical world, it's born from subcultures. It's born from these spaces that just iterate on their own terms, like queer kids or club kids, just people out in the world thinking, we've got a community and this is how we want to express ourselves. And that behavior, as Julien was saying, the behavior kind of exists. So it's making sure that, this culture of fashion expresses itself very naturally in gaming, and also for maybe trying not to build platforms and experiences that try to dictate the terms too much, right? To try and tell people, this is what you have to wear and this is how you have to do it, because that isn't how fashion works. And that isn't instinctively how gaming works either. They're much more kind of free and authentic spaces. So I think for both worlds, they can sort of learn from each other. But in a Venn diagram, there's a sort of place where they meet, which is around culture and behavior, and remembering that people and creativity are at the center of this. So when I kind of think about all these really amazing gaming platforms that are being made, right, these blockchain-based spaces and Web3 platforms, right now, I think maybe there's a sort of instinctive desire for the creators to maybe set the parameters very tightly because that's how they want people to behave. But I'd maybe like them to see that loosened up. I'm not a coder or a developer, so I don't know how possible that is. But in terms of when I think about the space, that's what I'd like to see, kind of room for culture to grow because we are creating the new culture.
That's a wonderful way of looking at it, and then the way you explain it. And I love the fact that you kind of flip the question upside down first, and then you started to see the interaction between the two industries as critical, which is absolutely true. One criticism I have about game is their customs were not designed by a fashion designer most of the time. It's designed by game designer, right? I'm not pointing fingers at game designer, but fashion design is a different profession. So if the team can be expanded to include that culture that you're talking about, that we're building through game, can have a little different flair to it. And I'm looking forward to see more of that happening. So I'm going to give the mic to Jordan now.
Man, this is a deep one. I could talk about for hours. So I think I share a slightly different stance because I come from the games industry. My other founder worked at Epic Games, most notably on Fortnite and some of the Gears of War titles. Man, what can the fashion? I would say if I had to distill it down to a few things, one, Julien said it great. This idea of wearing different things in different games is not new. We've been doing it since 2000 or 1999 when RuneScape came out, right? Or maybe a little earlier than that. When RuneScape was big, they even had, it was 2D, but they even had some sort of something you're wearing. And we've seen that obviously expand into things like GTA, which is a massive title with all kinds of different clothing in it. But I would say there's two things to look at here. One is the games industry as it stands right now, and the future of where it may go as far when we start talking about things like metaverse. There's two main things to understand. One, all digital spaces, games are built on one of two main game engines, Unity and Unreal. Now, when you build something as an artist or digital fashion, it sometimes is very hard to translate your creation from something like Marvelous or some high-end tool to actually work in a game engine. Now, our platform is working to make it to where you don't have to do any magical stuff behind the scenes to have it work in an engine. But that's very important to know that when I create something as a fashion designer, I need to understand, one, that maybe I create a suit like this, right? There's few situations in games where this is gonna want to be what someone wears. There's obviously there's virtual meeting spaces, there's different hangout spaces that someone may want to wear a suit, but what people are wearing in games is like CJ mentioned Diablo. I haven't seen any digital fashion creators creating stuff has flames flying out of it and is a massive knight armor set that's something that would come out of like God of War or something. So these gamers are very fickle creatures, and they're kind of change adverse. So when it comes to fashion, it's understanding where the gamers are right now and the kind of things they buy. And for instance, we're working with the fashion brand that they're going to put their brand on a knight armor set, because that's where the games industry is right now. They're wearing things that fit in their game, not necessarily some of the other fantastical things that a lot of fashion brands are making, which I love, but they don't quite fit just yet. They will though. So that would be kind of be my main points. Is the games industry, we all see it, we all see where it's going to go, but to meet it where it is right now and have that same item be able to be used in the future too is going to be very important. And then the interoperability piece. So when a fashion brand is looking at how do I get into maybe one game, well, then they have to take all of their creations and fit them to one character. Well, then they got to do that for the next game and the next game and the next game. So that's just not very viable. So that's also where we come along. We don't want this kind of creative capital have to be focused so hard on one situation and then have to do all that again. That's very resource intensive. So we want to make it possible for that kind of bridge to be filled to where it can be worn anywhere. So those would be my main things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the core concept you talked about, the product market fit, right? We understand gamers, so understand how they live and how they play their games, basically. Like in Diablo 2, I will wear Immortal King armor set so I can show off. That's what I have. But I can't use that for battle because it's not powerful enough. So I take it down and put out my battle armor and then go into kill those boss. So there's a game element we can't forget. It's not just a style. And I think that's something definitely for fashion brand to think about. So last but not least, Kadine, you want to share your thought with us?
I do, and I echo everything that everybody said so eloquently, and Jordan, especially your point on the interoperability. I think we really need to think about ways that we can wear these incredible garments across various worlds and metaverse gaming environments. I think digital fashion in gaming is huge, and it's nothing new either. We've already witnessed the likes of huge brands like Gucci and Ralph Lauren, Valentino, Marcella's already mentioned Animal Crossing. Video game skins are notorious among video game players. It's a form of social capital and flex, and it's also an opportunity for fashion brands. And I think that fashion brands have a unique opportunity here to partner with the likes of Fortnite, as we've seen with Balenciaga, and looking at ways that these partnerships can incorporate opportunities for their brands to target future fans. And the 3 billion gamers that are gathering in Fortnite, in Roblox, buying digital goods. And I think the trend for these initiatives put a real new way of thinking, if you like, around our digital identities and how we can collect and experience fashion. And I think digital fashion in gaming worlds and digital fashion in general is a huge opportunity for brands to connect with younger generations and future audiences. And I think that's a significant opportunity and one that will enable new ways of thinking about how we can dress up in gaming worlds, whether it be going to a virtual concert, a Travis Scott concert, for example, and wearing, you know, a Prada jacket in the metaverse. Caroline Rush, who's the CEO of the British Fashion Council here in the UK, she estimates that 10% of apparel globally could become digital in the future. And I think there's a huge opportunity here. And the evidence is that the gaming market size is estimated to be worth something like $200 billion. Numerous fashion brands are embracing tokenization. Key players in this space are realizing that this is a huge industry with tokens, with virtual goods, with virtual assets being central to that. And ways that we can collect them. I also want to reference the up and coming fashion houses like Ouroboros and tribute brands, and ways that, you know, these new 3D fashion houses can start to connect with gaming audiences and allow for the community to be able to wear fashion in completely unique ways that not so long ago, I think, would have been completely unimaginable. I think it's an incredible space right now, and it's exploding, and we're all doing so many incredible things to bring it to life. And I think that's a, you know, great opportunity for the brands that we're working with too.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I think we're running out of time, and so we couldn't have the rest of the questions. But I definitely am very curious about what you have to say about them, because you share so much insight and knowledge with us already. I'm very excited. I'm happy for our audiences. I learned a lot as well. My key takeaway would be probably three things. Number one is this is a transdisciplinary world that we live in, and these fields need to come together. And there's a lot. The second is that fashion has a lot to learn from game. Game also has a lot to learn from fashion. We are going to get closer and closer, no doubt about it. Unfortunately, the world, the Web3 world right now is still a little more segmented than it should be. And hopefully that will continue to break down the silos and everything can come together to realize the dream of Web3, right? I am me. Whichever platform and game I go to, I should be able to carry my assets. I still be me in different way, but I don't need to have all these things separated like that. That's the dream of Web3, and I believe we will get there. Claire?
Thank you so much, everybody. It's just incredible to have these voices at the forefront of the gaming industry and the digital fashion industry as well. So it's wonderful to hear you. I'm so sorry our time is slightly short today. We're going to put this on Zoom, so I'm sorry, on YouTube, so everyone can watch it. But yeah, key takeaways from this really are that digital wearables have been around for a long time. The gaming industry is far ahead. We have a lot to learn, and also the opportunities that are really arising for digital fashion designers in this arena as more and more people are looking to customize their digital selves. So it feels like the future is very, very bright for everybody. So thank you so much. You know, it's wonderful to see you all again. Hopefully we're going to resolve our technical issues for the next group, and we'll talk to you all probably in 6 months, if not sooner.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.